Everybody, and welcome to Homework Help for Adults with Mrs. D. I'm Mrs. D, and today we're talking about three-digit addition. So with three-digit addition problems, there's a couple of different strategies that students might use to solve it. One of them is the standard algorithm. That's the one that we're probably most used to. But another one that a lot of students are using now is called stack and stretch. So what stack and stretch does is it allows students to really understand the place values of the individual digits of those three-digit numbers that we're adding together. This understanding really helps them as they're figuring out conceptually what they need to do and understanding what kind of number they're coming up with at the end. So a problem that you might see is something like this one, which says Maria has 275 marbles. Steve has 122 marbles. How many marbles do they have in all? So with this kind of problem, students are challenged to do a couple of different things. The first thing is figure out what information they actually need to solve the problem and what kind of problem it is. So in something like this, students would need to identify that 275 is one of the numbers that we're combining. 122 is the other. The other piece that students would really need to understand is that it's actually an addition problem, not a subtraction problem or a multiplication problem or some other kind of problem. To figure that out, they have to understand that do they have in all means that they're going to be adding. So that's something that students will need to do. So an equation that you could come up with for this word problem would be 275 plus 122 equals. So for the stack and stretch method, it's going to start looking pretty familiar. So you're going to just stack the numbers on top of each other. 275 plus 122. We want to encourage students to put the bigger number on top because as math gets more complex, it's easier to keep that big number at top and it'll help students later on. Even though they could put the two numbers in different places, it's just easier to start teaching that strategy now. So 275 plus 122, typically you would just add right within here. That's the way that a lot of us learned it. So with the stack and stretch method, again, we really want students to understand the individual place value of each of these numbers. So we're going to stretch it out into what's called expanded form. So expanded form, we individually write out each of the place value digits as the actual number it represents, and in the form of an addition problem. So 122 would equal 100 plus 20 plus 2, and 275 you can see is 200 plus 70 plus 5. So this helps students to really understand that each of these numbers is actually representing these larger numbers. 2. So what we're going to do next is actually add each of these different areas. Students tend to start with the hundreds place, which makes sense because if you think about how we read from left to right. So it's natural to want to start on this side. However, as we know, we want to start at the one side. So that's something you may have to remind your students of that, we always start with the ones place. So that way if we have to regroup, we know how to do it. So 5 plus 2 here, 7. 70 plus 2. Now you can always remind students if they get stuck figuring out 70 plus 2 to go back to their two-digit addition strategies. So if you have students that need to go to the break apart, right? 7 plus 2 is 9, 0 plus 0 is 0, 90. Go ahead and let them do that. Remind them that they don't have to forget everything they learned in math in previous units, that all of that helps us. Even though we're on three-digit addition, you may still have to use some of those two-digit addition strategies. So knowing that this is 90, you put a 90 there, and then 200 plus 100 is 300. Now, this is the expanded form version of our answer. So to put it all together, we would do 300 plus 90 plus 7. So in our hundreds place, we have a 3. In our tens place, we have a 9. And then in our ones place, we have a 7. So that's the stack and stretch method for solving three-digit addition problems with a little bit of a break apart for our tens place in the middle. So if you see stack and stretch as one of the strategies that your student is supposed to use, or they're having trouble identifying the place value, or they're working on carrying ones and things like that, and they really just don't understand what's going on with the math problem, have them try this method so they really understand that there's ones, tens, and hundreds that are all at work in this three-digit addition problem. Good luck!